Welcome to the Guidance for Light and Sound Meditation video series with Mark from PureEnergyMeditation.com. This is video number 31 of 45. What we're doing in meditation is we're going inside and we're giving our attention to one thing. Now, depending on the type of meditation, that one thing might be breath or a mantra or a mandala. But ultimately what we're leading towards is giving our attention to stillness. And stillness is love. So we're aligning with love. Now, the more we do that, the more we build a relationship with that stillness. Because we're quite comfortable understanding that we have a physical body, that we have emotions or an emotional body, and that we have a mind or a mental body. But we also are an energy being. We have stillness and we have energy within that stillness. But if we don't give it our attention to these subtler aspects of who and what we are, then we don't have any awareness in them. So meditation is building awareness of your other bodies, your subtler bodies. Now, when we get onto light and sound meditation, which is beyond the kind of limits of ourself and our personality, then what we're giving our attention to is the energy that's behind everything that comes from love. And so the more we give our attention to that, the more we become it. So compared to doing nothing, 5 minutes a day is really, really good. Compared to 5 minutes a day, half an hour is really, really good. When you're meditating, your sense of time is going to be very much based on the vibration you're giving your attention to. So when people get access to the higher forms of meditation, light and sound, one of the things they'll quite often say is, oh, it's actually easier to meditate for longer periods of time on this higher vibration. And that makes perfect sense because time is about speed. So we've all experienced this, by the way. You may be daydreaming and you kind of half asleep, half awake, and you drift off and you start dreaming. And the dream can go on it can occupy quite a lot of time in the sense that a lot of things can happen in the dream. But when you wake up, you may only have been daydreaming for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes of physical time can contain hours of astral time or dream time, because your astral body, your emotional body, is where you are dreaming. And that's because the astral plane is faster than the physical plane. So more stuff happens in the same time frame, physically compared. And so when you're meditating on really fast vibrations, your sense of time changes. So the question, how much meditation should I do, partly depends on, well, what kind of meditation are you doing? But we need to kind of move away from setting a goal of time, because it can actually be a real distraction for people. Now, what I mean is, if I go right back to when I first discovered about light and sound meditation, I was told to prepare for it, I need to be doing 2 hours a day, every single day, and at least 4 to 6 hours every single weekend. And you know what? For the best part, I actually did. And sometimes I did a lot more than that as well. But the goal was the time. And it actually can get in the way, because I'd find myself sitting there, set a clock for an hour in the morning, and I'd get to like 30 minutes and I'm not really into the meditation. Maybe I'm struggling a bit. I'm having one of those days where it is just a struggle. But I go in my head, no, I've got to do an hour. And that's nonsense, because the goal isn't the time. The goal is the stillness. And when people become very time orientated, they sometimes lose sight of the fact that the goal is the stillness. And so the time, what it means is, if you do an hour and you are still, you'll get loads of benefits. But if you're sitting there for an hour trying to meditate and you're not getting anywhere and you're just getting frustrated, then it's not really worth spending the hour doing it. You're much better off cutting down the amount of time, maybe just 10 minutes, but really working on the quality of your meditation. Because no one wants to sit there banging their head against a metaphoric brick wall on the inside for an hour. In other words, quality comes first, quantity, time, comes second. So I'm going to talk about how much meditation I recommend people do, But this is assuming that the quality of your meditation is good. And that means that you're becoming still. Stillness being relative, there's no judgment in terms of how still. It's just, what I mean by that is that you're able to sit comfortably in stillness and just be present. And there may be thoughts, and that's okay. And you may be noticing your body, and that's okay. Because it's not about rejecting these things, it's about building that relationship with stillness. So the more you sit in the stillness you already have, then the more you expand into stillness. And then the next time it's a bit easier. So when someone's just starting out and they're using the breath, I'd say, look, aim for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes a day. So maybe 10 in the morning, 10 in the evening. And once you're comfortable with that, then let's look at maybe half an hour. As people are looking to progress to light and sound meditation, then I'd really say ideally at least an hour a day. Now that might sound like a lot, but it's not really. It's a lot compared to the thought of never having done anything. But if you think about it like this, since quality is more important than quantity, and what you get from meditation when you really let go into stillness is amazing, then why wouldn't you want to do more? So when people get everything lined up right, then it's not a question of I should do this amount of time. It's I want to do this amount of time because I'm seeing the benefits, I'm enjoying the experience, and I can feel myself progressing and evolving in terms of my inner awareness and my consciousness. So then life becomes much more orientated towards how much meditation can I do? I want to do as much as possible, because anything that you enjoy doing, you want to do. So as a guideline, starting off, 10 minutes meditate here, 10 minutes meditate there. Because this is building a relationship with stillness, it's a bit like, someone who goes to the gym. If they go regularly and just do a comfortable amount each time, they'll notice after a period of time that they physically, they're achieving their goals, whether that's weight loss or putting on muscle or increasing their flexibility or becoming more capable in terms of their aerobic capacity, cardiovascular work. Whatever their goal is, if they apply themselves regularly to it, then they start to build in that direction. And meditation is no different in that the more often you dip into stillness, the stronger your connection to stillness is. So it's much better to meditate for 10 minutes every day than to just do 1 hour meditate every week. Ideally, we can meditate every day, but there's going to be days where you just can't, for whatever reason, and that's okay. As I say to the people I teach, the most important thing to me is not that you meditate every single day, it's that you want to meditate every single day. Because if that desire is there to meditate, then you'll find the time. It's amazing how much time people actually have when you break down your day. The average person is spending hours in front of the television or just, spending their time entertaining themselves. So there's always places where you can go, actually, if I'm more efficient here, I free up some time here. But there's no judgment. Some of the people I teach, they've got young children, holding down several jobs. They really have their hands full. So there's no, you're not doing enough. When they tell me, I can't meditate every single day, it's just not going to happen. Then my attitude is, well, let's support what you can do. Because do the best that you can for yourself, not for someone else. It's not about pleasing your teacher or impressing your friends. It's about you developing this relationship with stillness. And the advice I do give people who are in these more stressful situations is, you know what, even if it's just 1 minute a day, sit yourself down, close your eyes and do the breathing, because it makes a statement to yourself, to the universe, and to your inner self, your higher self, that this is important, that stillness is important to me. And energy follows action. So if you do something like that and you say, okay, look, I'm really, really busy, but I'm going to take 1 minute out the day, I'm going to sit down, even if it's just in the car before I get back into the house, I'm going to do the breathing for a moment, and then I'm just going to sit in stillness. You know what, that's such a powerful expression of intention that it will make a difference. And then when you do have more time, you've still got that momentum, that direction, which you're demonstrating through your intention. So meditation isn't a tick box exercise. I've done half an hour. It's a love affair with stillness. So the reason why I talk about how much time is because there is some misinformation out there. People saying, oh, you should only do half an hour, no more, it's dangerous, or 20 minutes, whatever they say. From my own experience and having taught for over 20 years, you can do as much as you want when you're sitting in the right place, when you're in a good place inside. And that's why I really stress that quality comes first, quantity comes second. So wherever you're at in your personal journey, focus on the quality aspect and then extend the amount of time you spend in this quality experience, and it will grow naturally. To give you some perspective, so once I had access to light and sound energy, I started to do longer meditates, and it was easier and easier to do these meditates. So I started off, before I got the energy, the longest I'd do was maybe 6 hours. After getting the energy, I was doing 8, 9, 10 hours. I'd spend entire weekends, maybe 14, 15 hours a day. The longest meditate I've done is about 10 days, where I had no concept of time, and I was waking up in the middle of the night, and I'd just start meditating and maybe do 8 hours and then stop and have a break and then sit down and do a couple of hours and then maybe have a sleep and then get up and meditate some more. And my body was readjusting, finding its own rhythms, and it was just a joy to be sat in meditation for these periods of time. Because time really is is really relative to where you're sitting. And so once you're sitting in these higher vibrations that have nothing to do with the body's supported by the energy, but you're not sitting in it, so your sense of time is less relevant and less related to what's going on down here. So meditate as much as you can, enjoy the meditation you do, and don't give yourself a hard time about concepts about time. Free yourself up from that mindset and start to look at meditation as a love affair with stillness. And the more you do, then the more you get. And the more you get, the more you'll want to do. It's as simple as that. The question of time also translates into what time of day should we meditate. Now, this is partly going to be down to practicalities, like when are you free? And also your own energy patterns in terms of when do you have more energy to sit and be present. But the reality is that stillness and light and sound energy, when you've got access to it, are 24/7. They don't come and go. The energy is always there. The stillness is always there. So there is no right time to meditate. It's simply what's the best time for you. But one thing I would encourage is if you've got in the habit of saying, well, I can only meditate in the morning, or I can only meditate just before I go to bed, or I need to wake up at this time to meditate, challenge that belief, because it's a limiting belief. You know, if you're always meditating at 3 in the afternoon because that's what happens, say, right, well, what happens if I meditate at 10 o'clock at night? And challenge it. So don't just go, oh, I did it once and yeah, it wasn't the same. Of course it's not going to be the same. Your expectations are going to be different. Your energy is going to be different. But the more you kind of shake things up a bit and break habits, then the more flexibility you have. The more flexibility you have in your mindset, you take that flexibility with you into your meditation. And that's a really, really positive thing, because meditation is always going to be revealing something new. And flexibility is what allows people to embrace something new without resistance. So when it comes to time, play around with the time of day. When it comes to duration, play around with that too. Learn how to be able to meditate for just a few minutes, and what happens when you extend it into longer meditates. Because one of the problems with a longer meditate is that people get lazy. They say, well, I'm going to be here for 3 hours, so I don't really, you know, they don't turn up at the start. They allow themselves, you know, to kind of be a little bit lazy. And for me, that's a waste. Not everyone's like that, but if it happens, it's a waste of your time. So if you're going to sit down for 3 hours, but you've practiced doing 2 minutes meditates, then you know that in 2 minutes you can get straight in and get into stillness. Great. So now you've got a whole 3 hours in the deeper stillness, rather than taking an hour and a half to settle and then go into stillness. So, you know, challenge your relationship with time, challenge your relationship with duration, time of day, and sometimes forget about time, just sit and meditate and see what happens if you've got the freedom to do so. Don't set a limit, don't set an alarm. On that note, one of the really useful things is just making sure that you've got an alarm if you are constrained by time, so that you're not having to keep an eye on the clock, okay? It just frees you up from your relationship with time, because time is a limit, and when we're on the inside, we don't want to be thinking, right, is that 10 minutes? You know, kind of open one eye, look at your watch, because that takes you out of your meditation. Okay, see you soon. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope you found it enjoyable, but also useful. If you've not already done so, then check out the first video that I did and then all the subsequent videos, because watching them in the order that they're presented, you'll get the most benefit from them. As with all the other things I do, including the teaching, MP3 downloads, articles and the ebook, everything I do for free. And I put it out there simply to help people just like you to get the most from their meditation. So please do feel free to share this video with others. And if you've not already had a look, then head on over to my website, where you'll find lots of downloads, useful articles, and even a free ebook. And most importantly, enjoy meditating and putting into practice these different techniques and things that we're learning. Thank you again for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.